I gave birth on the bathroom floor on Halloween in my apartment. When I was pregnant with my daughter, my due date was Halloween. I was preparing some postpartum meals on the 30th of October when I started feeling cramps. So at this point, I was already planning on having an unmedicated birth at a birth center. It's a little bit different than a hospital birth, but I text my midwife and I say, hey, I'm cramping. I'm pretty sure I'm in early labor. So she knows what's going on. If you don't know this, labor is not like the movies. Sometimes your water breaks, bada bing, bada boom, you have the baby. That's very rare. But if you go to the hospital or the birth center too early and you're not far enough along, they will send you home. I really didn't want to do that because my birth center was 30 minutes away. I knew, don't leave the house until the contractions are a certain number of minutes apart. And I was nowhere near that. The contractions were definitely getting stronger, but I was still having them very irregularly. Sometimes it would be 10 minutes between contractions. Sometimes it would be 20 minutes. Basically, according to all the information I had, I was not about to have the baby. I go to lay down, we're timing the contractions. They're not consistent, but they hurt. Just imagine the worst period cramp you've ever had and then times it by 3 or 10. So at this point, I'm on the bathroom floor, writhing around in pain like an animal. We call the midwife to keep her updated. Remember, we're timing my contractions. They're still not 5 minutes apart. So she says, hold out. We don't want to go to the birth center and then have to go home. So I stay home. At this point, every contraction is so painful. I'm glad I was cool with my neighbors because the sounds I was making, they were extremely animalistic sounds. At this point, I'm thinking to myself, if this is early labor, there is absolutely no way I can do this without the epidural. I have a long way to go and the pain is only going to get worse. And there's no way I need to go to the hospital. But then I have a contraction that is very strong. I feel the urge to push and I tell my husband, call the midwife, I'm about to have the baby. And she's extremely sweet. Mind you, it is 2 in the morning. And she's like, it would be very unusual if you were about to have the baby because your contractions were not regular and you make it over to the birth center. Girl, I cannot even make it to the car. I already knew I would be writhing around in my little Prius. This wasn't gonna happen. So I knew she had to come. She gets there. I'm feeling bad. I'm like, Lord, hope I'm about to have this baby or I'm about to be embarrassed for making the midwife drive all the way over to our little apartment. She feels, and sure enough, yeah, my baby's head was popping out. Yeah. It was time to push. My midwife runs over to the birth kit, buy this birth kit, and it has all these sterile items that typically when you go over to the birth center to give birth, you bring all of that, but you keep it at your home in case this happens. So she gets all the puppy pads, puts them all over the bathroom floor, and girl, I start pushing. I really was not pushing for very long. I was squatting in sort of a way, and I remember looking down and seeing my daughter's head like halfway out of me. Freaked out a little bit right there. Anyway, she came out, time of birth, 3 a.m. on Halloween. My husband cut the umbilical cord on the bed. Yeah, I freaking did that. Looking back now, the experience was fine. I'm not traumatized by it or anything. I do wish I knew how far along I was, like whether I was checking myself or I had a doula checking, because it would have been a lot easier mentally to know that I was in so much pain. I was about to give birth. Able to happily tell this story because everything turned out fine. I know that's not always the case. There's lots of birth horror stories out there, whether it's at home or in the hospital. It was a little bit bittersweet when we moved out of that apartment. We all went into the bathroom and took some pictures. I would do it all over again because that was the best day of my life. And if you're wondering, I still have my placenta in the freezer, so barbecue at my place.